I mean, you kind of just said it now.
Oh no.
Alright, that was a great intro.
Oh hello. Oh God, are we live?
Welcome, friends.
Mum, can you come pick me up?
No, your mum said she's coming
He
after
needs an
this.
adult.
Oh no.
Okay.
Yep. Okay.
Alright. Welcome back. We're doing different types of role-playing genres, and actually we have the wonderful co-host Meraki, and we have two guests today, which is Alphabetti Spaghetti
Hello.
and Jake.
Hello,
A
I am Jake.
bounty
This
of guests.
What?
A bounty of
Oh,
guests.
A bounty of guests.
yeah. We kind of like got their mums to drive them here, so
Yeah.
they kind of have to be here. They signed a contract.
My mum told me this was Disneyland.
You're going Disneyland after.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh.
how do you like your disappointment? Hot or cold?
Cold like my soul.
Uh, okay. Well,
Sorry,
since
was
we
that
had
too
Jake
dark?
last week, and he's already kind of spoken in the past what
Do
he's
we-
kind of role plays and stuff, we'll go with Catherine here, or Caitlin even. And your
Either will
character.
do.
You know what?
She's pretty easy.
That undead cowboy. Go ahead.
My undead cowboy. Yeah. Hello, 14 viewers. It's me, Caitlin. It's at this point I have to reveal to you all that in real life I'm not actually a very sexy cow lady, and I'm in fact just some guy. And I don't like that while I was talking we dropped down to 11 viewers. I introduced myself and 3 people quit the stream.
If that's not your tagline on all of your social media, then I'm just disappointed.
Wait, what do you want my tagline to be?
That you're not in fact a very sexy cow, but
Yeah.
just some guy.
I'm not a very sexy lady. I'm just some bloke. The source of so many internet disappointments.
Hey, you can't steal my title. The heck.
Oh, I'll fight you for it.
They run their own guild, I believe, right?
I do. Yeah, I run a guild called the Dust Devils, which you may or may not have heard of, or pretend that you've not heard of. For your own patience and sanity. Yeah, it's kind of like a, funnily enough, related to today's question, it's kind of like an action adventure horde side guild.
I know of
where
them.
we go off. Sorry.
I know of them.
Hey,
I've heard of them.
Okay. Was it
Horde
good
represent.
things?
It was good things, yeah.
That's all right. I'm bribing people enough.
All right.
I'm paying.
With all the bribes that are going on, I don't know what this chat is. Right. Let's talk about what sort of like roleplay there is as a whole. I guess since I'm not familiar with tabletop so much, something that I still want to do at some point. Maybe someone else can step in.
I do some tabletop. Tabletop's kind of like, I think, what a lot of people think of when they think of roleplay. It's kind of like the generic, like, because a lot of people will default think of Dungeons and Dragons.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more to tabletop roleplay than just Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a big fan of Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
But there's a ton of them out there.
Oh yeah, and I play a tabletop roleplay that like the rules were just sort of like made up on the spot. Do you know what I mean? It's I think that's probably because the runner lost the rule book on the way here, so he just had to improvise.
It's like, right, we're winging it tonight, lads.
Yeah, we're winging it today, boys, and then we just kept winging it. But yeah, so there's vampire, there's all sorts. There's Pathfinder's another big one, isn't it? In tabletop,
there's various different kinds of D&D as well.
Yeah. I never, funnily enough though, as big as D&D is, I kind of never got into it because like I feel that I don't like having to do a maths equation every time I roll for something my character can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a bit too roll heavy for our group too, which is why we prefer Vampire. We find it more story driven, a lot less dice based.
Yeah,
but even just
absolutely.
in that, like in the range of available tabletop roleplay games, you can find anything from the most complex systems of dice rolls and all sorts of stuff, and you can find really, really basic ones which are mostly just ad-libbed storytelling with the occasional dice tossed in to shake it up.
Yeah, I much prefer the second one. I don't want to have to send off to NASA to find out how hard that is. You know what I mean? Yeah. And funnily enough, that's what I do when we come to that. That's what I do in my WoW roleplay. I literally just use a 50-50 roll system. Just because I think it's easy and quick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
Keep it simple.
Keep it simple. Absolutely. I'm a simple man.
So many dices and more close storytelling. I guess it's more can be more chaotic as well, as someone mentioned, because
It's generally more linear in a sense as well, depending on who your GM is. Obviously, whoever's running the game for you, tabletop games will generally have a way you're supposed to go. Now, you cannot go that way and torture whoever's running this game for you. And a lot of people do that, but quite often there is a set path that you're supposed to take, in some rough estimation. But so it can be quite linear in that, whereas it comes to like other forms of roleplay, they can be much more opportunistic in terms of where it could go.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like you say to the GM, I want to go this way, and the GM says, okay, but I'll ask you politely but firmly to leave if you do. But yeah, but I do think though that one thing I have noticed in tabletop roleplay is that like whenever you're in a city, like the cities tend to be quite large that people make up in tabletop roleplays. Like if they draw maps and stuff. Like some people get like just sheets of, I don't even know what it is. It's like plastic paper that you can like draw on with pens and then rub it out again.
Yeah, like acetate stuff.
Yeah, that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people get that and like draw a map, and you can like move your little figure around the map for some sorts of.
I think that bridges nicely, because you can basically take your character sheet and your dice and run a tabletop game. But a lot of people can do maps. Some people have figurines for their characters. Some people have settings and props and like actual rooms and maps and things like that, which leads a little bit more into next kind of role play.
All right. Hang on a moment. So,
that was the most stunted transition.
Look, we've already stated that this is the most consistently crappy like thing. It's our thing. It's our brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll fit in well here because I too am consistently crappy.
I guess LARPing gives more room compared to tabletop, which is like live action role
taking
play.
it fully off the table into the real realms.
Yep. I am also a LARPer.
Oh.
Yeah. Funnily enough, I LARP as Caitlin, in which case it's really hard to disguise that I'm not a girl. You know what I mean? When I come in like with a beard, I'm like 8 foot tall and built like a brick shithouse. But yeah.
I mean, you could still be a girl.
Oh, of course I can, darling. I'm just a fabulous bearded woman, and nobody's gonna hold me back.
You rock
there
that
you
look.
Go. Yeah, I'll rock it. I'll work it. If it works for me, girl, I'll work it. But no, I think because I go to a LARP thing called Lorien Trust. I don't know if anyone's heard of it.
I haven't, no. I live out in the sticks of Ireland. We don't have anything fun here.
Do you not have LARP in Ireland?
I'm sure there is, like, closer to Belfast.
Yeah.
We're way out in the sticks.
Yeah, fair enough.
We have cows and sheep. That's what we have.
Well, you need to get them together and start a LARP community. That's what you need. Yeah.
Let's talk about some LARP. How, other than in literally everywhere, how does LARP differ from tabletop?
I think one thing about LARP. Then, sorry, am I right to take this one? I don't want to do.
I've never LARPed. I think you might be the only person here that has LARPed, so go for it.
I think one of the things in tabletop, as you were kind of saying, sorry, B picture person, I've forgotten your name. What is it?
Meraki.
Meraki.
Sorry, or Kitty, I don't mind.
I only remember my name because I wrote it on the back of my hand. But so I find that in LARP, like as you said about tabletop roleplay, there's usually, perhaps not so much in cities, but usually there's like a linear path for the story to follow. Whereas in LARP, especially like the really big kind of LARP festival events that I go to, there's not, you can like go the entire weekend without touching the main plot at all. Do you know what I mean? And you're like perfectly free to go along and make your own little thing and your own little storyline off completely on your own. So I remember, for instance, I went to a LARP a couple of years ago now, where like the plot was that there was this big bad monster had come back to life, and we needed to gather these these souls to like seal it back in its crypt or something. Well, I didn't even touch that plot all weekend because at some point my character found a severed hand, so I naturally spent the rest of the weekend trying to find the rest of this thing so I could like build it into
So
my
it
own
back
personal castle.
together.
Yeah, sew it back together and make it into a Frankenstein. But so in LARP, you're very, very free to sort of follow your own path and make your own little thing with your own little group, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, I have a friend who LARPed Vampire for a while, and she ended up being the prince. They'd been doing this LARP for years, and she'd had this character through the whole thing, and she ended up as the prince of the region. I was like, anything's on the table when it comes to LARP.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's so much room for character progression and stuff, and all that sort of thing. Yeah. Although I would say that it's a lot slower paced than in terms of character progression. It can take like years to like get your character a little bit beefy. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's a reason that I play a character that's about 300 brothers, because I'll make one, I'll die in like a day, and then make it. It takes a long time to beef yourself up in LARP. But
how is progression handled? Who decides how strong your character is? Can't you go in there saying you're a uber proficient fencer?
Yeah. Like it usually it's a bit between, because obviously LARP there's no dice rolls unless you're like going to carry a massive LARP safe dice, and just but in LARP there's
I'm just imagining someone saying, pulls out dice rolls on the floor. Now you failed. Get out.
No, you failed. Get out of here. But no, so like I think a part of it comes down to like how well you can actually act it out, because like as I've already said to you, a gentle breeze could snap me in half. So if I go in, LARPing as some big badass who can like snap people apart with like his bare hands, nobody's really going to believe that. You know what I mean? And given that I flinch when spoken to, when people are coming at me with big LARP safe axes, I don't think that's going to work. But one way that LARP is usually done with progression is you get like there's something called a feast and a famine system. And the one I go to is a bit, it's like they call it a famine system, where like you basically start like really you can like pick certain skills that you've got, and they'll give you a card, and on this card are all the skills you can do. Does that kind of make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, but they'll all be like level 1 skills. So you can like say, I cast basic fireball, and the other person hopefully knows the rules and says, oh yeah, that's like maybe going to singe my hair a little bit. Do you know what I mean? And then you level up by going to some guys called game control, also called God, and you basically say, right, over quote unquote winter, i.e. the year when the sort of like bit in between LARP events, I want my character to learn this. And then when you come back, they'll update the little plastic card they give you to say that you've learnt this over the time. Does that kind of make sense?
So the organization decides your character's strength.
Yeah, the organization decides it. You can also like LARP your way to getting better at things. So like say you want to become like a really good spy, you could like find the guild of spies, and they'll send you on like basic LARP fetch quests, and then they'll provide you with the papers that then you can take to God or game control and say, make me this please, and they will. Does that kind of... I don't like the awkward silence.
No, sorry, I was just messing around with the volume.
Sorry, I was going to say it reminds me of my birthday party. But yeah, if I'm just talking nonsense, do let me know. But
that was informative. Thank you.
Brilliant.
So I'd say, like, how would someone who is physically disadvantaged but playing a skilled character match up against someone who is fit and fast, like say in a melee?
Wait, say that again, Chief.
How could someone who is supposed to be playing a fairly skilled fencer, so to say, but the barbarian or whatever that they're matching up against in the LARP is much stronger and faster than them physically and out of character as well? How is that handled? Do you like do rolls? Does the stronger player deliberately play to the abilities of the person they're role playing with? How's it handled?
Oh, that is a good question. That is so a little bit of all things really. So at the end of the day, the little cards that, sorry, I'm just looking at the chat. It's not me that's been the quiet one, is it?
I've messed around with the volume. I've upped people up.
Oh, good. So that's all right. I'm glad nobody's heard what I've said until now, because it was all really embarrassing. So I can just reintroduce myself as a cool dude. But no. So
all right, this is Cool Dude.
Yeah, hello, I'm Cool Dude. I play a really cool character on Argent Dawn that you might have heard of, called
Jeff.
Jeff, yeah, that's me. But yeah, no. So usually at the end of the day, the cards are sort of like God. Do you know what I mean? So let's say that you go up to someone and you do a certain thing and they don't believe you. You show that you can like go out of character for a minute and like show them the little card. And then they sort of like have to agree with it, and then they sort of like role play it out appropriately. So even if you were a really skinny little guy, you can do these things called you like call out what you're doing. So if I am just a really little skinny guy, but I'm role playing someone who can hit a lot, and I hit, and when you like hit someone's limb with like your little foam axe and you yell crush, that's a game rule that then they listen to and they know, okay, so you've just now crushed my arm, and I have to react to that. I see. Does that kind of make sense?
Oh, so
Yeah.
them hitting you, would that be you out of character, outmaneuvering them, like going past their defense? Would they try parry it, or would would they let you hit them, and then how?
No, they. Sorry, Chief. They're perfectly valid to try and parry you. Yeah, if they're like really good at swordsmanship, they can absolutely parry your blows. There are ways to counter it, so you can get like different abilities. Like you can get one that's like shatter weapon. So if you hit so let's say I'm doing my whole Caitlin LARP spiel, and then I hit someone's sword and I yell shatter weapon, but in my own voice, not pretending to be a lady. They then have to drop their sword. Does that make sense? Even if they've parried me, but if I don't have that, they can parry me all the like. So even if I can like crush their armor, if they can keep parrying me, I can't do the thing. So that's a little where the acting comes in, and where you actually have to be a little bit decent at swordplay, which I am not, which is why I tend to give moral support in the distance.
So do you find that in LARP that most melee characters, are they usually people who are physically fit?
Yes, most melee. I have sort of noticed a trend that people who play healers in LARP, such as myself, tend to be the people who were picked last in gym class. Whereas the people who play the melee characters are all like the big giga chads. You know what I mean? Like the big bearded buggers. You know, there does tend to be a certain sort of athleticism needed to be a really combat-y character. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, again, that's not a hard and fast rule. You'll absolutely find some skinny people who do play combat characters, but they always, funnily enough, they always tend to like play on speed rather than brute strength and play like the equivalent of rogues or something.
You can play a rogue, right?
Yeah, you can like take certain abilities that will make you a bit rogue-like. You know what I mean?
But then you
so
have
like
to perfect your stealth and your.
Yeah. You do the thing where you like put your hands above your head and it's like I'm invisible now.
So, do they have to return and be like, where'd they go? But you,
yeah. Oh no, where'd he go? Yeah, it's like how babies have no concept of object permanence. You know what I mean? It's like that. You put your hands above your head and they're instantly like, oh geez, he's disappeared. He went to get milk like my dad. Sorry, that was dark. I apologize.
Right. I think we should probably move on before we just end up making a LARP stream.
Yeah.
Actually, I'll bring the last one before the next one.
Yeah.
Everyday and general roleplay kind of. I think Meraki kind of suggested this one with their own document they sent me, where you have this sort of roleplay in therapy. You know, where you.
There's a lot of uses for roleplay in the real world, like, in therapy sessions, in the bedroom, for lots of different things.
Madam, on this Christian server, good lord. I actually have a story about that, but it's not like a very dirty one. But I'll save it for RP Talk After Dark.
We should make that a thing.
My idea.
Yeah.
We'll go at the bedroom RP in RP Talks After Dark.
But
any thought for this particular topic?
Any what? Sorry. Oh, the I mean, it's just something pretty straightforward for me. Thoughts-wise, it can really help with therapy, as far as I'm aware. Get into that sort of mindset to kind of figure out what's kind of bothering you, right?
I think they call it the empty chair.
Yeah.
Thing where you speak to someone who you have had whatever issues with in your past, and you kind of work through different things via role playing. I just thought it was useful to include because not all role playing is in a sort of gamey sense.
Definitely. I mean, it is definitely another form of it. Otherwise, there's the virtual and forum roleplay, and obviously forum roleplay,
That's
everyone
the
can
one we're all here for.
imagine it
The-
being on the forums.
Yeah. Yep. There is though. I've done office. I've done role playing like like when you're when you go to work and they do like icebreaker things.
Yes, exactly. There's another one. There's another good.
Yeah,
use of
people
it.
often. Yep, and it's really awkward because when the boss is like, "Okay, everyone, we're gonna do some role play," everyone just turns and looks at me. I'm like, "Oh god damn it!" But yeah. So there's office sort of base role play as well, like when you're doing team breakers and things.
Do you put on your like best performance of a lifetime?
Oh, absolutely, darling. Hand me
Accents and
those
everything.
Oscars.
With full works.
10 likes on this stream and I'll do the Caitlyn voice.
Yeah, that 10 likes on the video, and we'll get Caitlin to come back and do the voice.
This is where I flee the country.
We'll never hear from him again.
All right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Virtual, and I guess we'll just stick to virtual. Virtual is where what we are focusing on here, because we're all in this little virtual world of Warcraft, right?
Yeah, the online stuff where it doesn't technically exist.
Some people are talking to girls and we're
yeah,
It's
pretending
real
to
to
be
me.
girls. It's real in my mind, Mom.
But,
Oh boy.
that tends to be story driven or social, and by story driven, you don't really necessarily need a guild for that. You can be a group of friends, which me and Marcus do sometimes. Or Jake. I still call him Marcus sometimes, by the way, guys. So
I'm Jake.
I might jump between both names.
I'm also Marcus.
Either.
You're a lot of things, kid.
He can be anything you want him to be.
Oh,
He's a
wow.
sausage roll in my head.
Story
We're moving
driven.
over to the WoW RP then.
Yes.
As I imagine most people are here for.
Yeah, that's what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah.
Story driven tends to be more of like the DM sort of events where there's a goal in mind. So let's say in a adventuring guild trying to get the ruby from inside the tombs or something like that. And you have this sort of, I guess you could have a rival or an enemy stopping you. It just involves a more like streamlined sort of role play.
You're sort of general kind of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
The difference to story
There's a
driven.
quest. There's a bad guy.
Yeah.
The difference to story driven as well in comparison to tabletop from what I hear is that it can be more improvised as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I as a DM often have a basic idea in mind. I don't overplan it because knowing the people I DM for, they're going to end up going a different route that I never even thought of to begin with.
They'll be befriending cats on the sidelines for 3 hours, and you're like, guys, I spent a week writing this.
It turns out the cat saved the day or something.
Yeah.
And then you have social sort of virtual, which is just hello, how are you? You just meet Dave for a beer or something.
I'm guessing you mean slice of life RP.
Yeah.
Life RP. You tend to find that more around the major hubs, Stormwind, big one.
That's kind of what keeps you ticking over between the adventures.
Events, yeah, absolutely.
I guess you can sort of call it filler roleplay.
Although for some people, it's their whole roleplay diet.
I mean, it can be as engaging as story driven. I mean, obviously you have that drama as well. I don't know, Derek called you something and now you're mad at him.
Derek will pay for his crimes.
But yeah,
who does Derek think he is, frankly?
Yeah.
Goddamn Derek.
RP ultimately it relies heavily on character synergy, and you can find that both in narrative structured DM'd RP as well as just some casual tavern RP in a hub.
Absolutely.
Just standing outside in the cathedral district, even that can be great if you've got the right people that are saying the right things with the right frame of mind.
There's the opportunity for character development everywhere if it just so happens to you land in the right situation at the right time.
Yeah.
Which sort of brings us to the genre surrounding, in, I guess, World of Warcraft specifically. Obviously, there might be more, but, my brain can only compute as much. Action and adventure can sort of go hand in hand, and we can sort of start with that, I guess, which I can presume everyone has done at one point at least.
That's basically my entire guild.
Yeah. Action and adventure is kind of the bread and butter.
Yeah.
Especially in a guild, in a guild, in a world like
Yeah.
World of Warcraft, where the whole concept is based around that, going out in the world and doing, adventure type quests and things. I imagine everyone has at some point, even if they haven't role played it out, the point of leveling and doing quests is that kind of action adventure style stuff.
That's kind of been my bread and butter since I've started roleplay. It's just mercenary roleplay. I think I've been in like 1 or 2 militant guilds before I decided it's not for me.
I couldn't do military roleplay.
I'm very like, if I get into one, it's got to be good. But otherwise, it's not for me. Obviously, you have stuff like adventuring guilds, which I tend to prefer a lot. It tends to be more open to directions it can go.
There's a lot of traveling with adventure guilds, and that's something that I think everyone in the game kind of always somewhere in their soul wishes they did more of.
Yeah. The thing I like about
guilds though, I find like we've when I was cooped up in Stormwind for like a whole year, never really leaving with my character, going to new zones, it was very magical with adventure guilds, with guildless groups as well. But when you're going to different zones everywhere all the time, because through portals or through whatever way of traveling, the magic, it isn't gone, but it's diluted because it becomes the norm. That said, it's not necessarily a bad thing. The change in scenery, the change in possible threats is always nice.
I mean, I think personally, like when you can don't get me wrong, I get the appeal of like the big hub zones and stuff, but like when you go out into the world and you're just flying around some of these zones that like nobody's been in for years and years and years, you find some really awesome stuff to play with. Do you know what I mean? There's some like really, I mean, the way I make events is I'll literally fly out around Azeroth. I'll spend more time than I'm proud of. While my friends are getting married and having beach holidays, I'm just flying around World of Warcraft looking to places to put events. But like you'll find something. So what I do is I'll like go out and find somewhere and I'll find something cool and say, all right, I'm going to build an event around that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So like the other week I found there's a really awesome thing. I don't know what the hell it's meant to be, but if you go into Pandaria in there's a place in Pandaria and there's like this big temple, and then if you fly up a bit from it, there's this like big Legion spaceship thing just like slammed into the ground. And I'm like, that's awesome. Let's make an event around that. Do you know what I mean? So I think there is a lot of scope for like action, getting out there and exploring Azeroth, kind of thing in WoW. I think there's a lot of really cool stuff to sort of like put in your events when you find it. Do you know what I mean? But I do know that some guilds quite like just staying locally. Like I know, for instance, some guilds are like, for the North kind of guilds will literally just base their roleplay around a particular geographical region. If that kind of makes sense, and have all their action take place there. Which again, it's horses for courses, isn't it? If it works for you, God bless you, son. But I like stuff that gets you out into the weirder parts of Azeroth. Yeah.
I don't think any of us here are sort of involved in RP PvP, right?
Oh God, no! I fold like a wet paper towel.
Well, I mean
I have done in the past.
That is another
I don't
form
do
of
anymore.
action roleplay.
Yeah, it is. I know some guilds who love it. You know what I mean? Can't get enough. I don't particularly like it, but that's what some people like. Yeah, go out here, find another bunch of players, beat them.
It can vary between two things as well. RP PvP can be full on slamming swords against each other, or just auto hitting and emoting, because we have the accessibility to that now, which is great.
Yeah,
there's always a big conflict over the rules and the setting of RP PvPs.
Because you always get like the absolute bad lads who want to do like unrestricted player versus player role play. Do you know what I mean?
And the rest of everybody who's like, I've been sitting in the city role playing for 3 months. I don't have any gear.
Yeah, that's me.
All right,
hence why I fold like a towel.
The RP PvP, the PvP part. I mean, I guess some people kind of like it. Me, not for me. I'll leave it at that. But the camp RP that comes with any large event, especially any large public event, especially with RP PvP, is great because you have this atmosphere where danger is looming over. You've got people returning with like hours of RP that they want to actually properly RP out. as a group
Mhm.
in their own respective
You
camps.
want
Where
to know the trick?
the trick, sorry.
I've discovered the solution, right? You need to
It-
run a like criminal shady guild that is like in trade deals and stuff, so that you can be there to supply the camp, but not actually have to do any of the fighting. Ching.
Is this one of those doctors hate her kind of secret tricks? Like, role players
That's
hate
how I
her.
get away with it. It's like, I want to hang out
Beef.
to the role play, but I don't want to have to fight anybody.
I look around for the. I usually when I was last in RP PvP, it was a northern. I think no Southern Barons campaign. Sorry,
No, I think it was our
with the
campaign.
two fortress facing one another. I'd play for the most part, just a medic going around, and for that way I could get the camp RP with the plenty of people, plenty of atmosphere, without actually needing to do the whole PvP, because you just, lining up, hitting each other with your timed abilities whilst occasionally typing in something in /L, like "die maggots."
Whew, even that was a bit aggressive for me.
We know you've said that like 50 times already. God.
Yeah. Like it was personal the first time, but
I think there's a good lesson in that though, which is essentially that even if when we're reading through this list and you're sitting thinking you're like, oh yeah, that's the kind of RP I enjoy, it might actually be worth not closing yourself off to the other types of role play that you don't necessarily enjoy on the outside, and just think of different ways that you could enjoy aspects of them, because there could be a lot to be gained from them.
And I think one of the problems, at least that I've found, and again, people might disagree, and that's fine, but I'm usually wrong. But one of the things that I've found with roleplay player versus player is that I don't know why I decided to say the full title there. Is that I'm using the Queen's English, as you can see tonight.
Professional.
Is that absolutely, darling. Is that you sort of can't go whole hog, if you know what I mean? It's like if you're fighting someone else's player character, obviously you don't want to like. I've heard some people call it a shadow Goku or something. You don't like want to suddenly go Super Saiyan, like I see, and like absolutely devastate everyone around you, because people might not want their characters being killed, or people might not want their characters being really badly wounded, or you might just look like you're power gaming or something. Whereas I think so you've got to be. I sort of overcompensate a bit too limited in the sort of emotes I do PvP. Whereas when you're fighting like NPCs and stuff, I think you can have a bit more fun with it, because you can sort of get a bit wackier, because at the end of the day, it is just some faceless goon who is there to be. Yeah, it's nobody's player character.
PC.
Yeah, it's nobody's baby, so you can just go for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, there you go. That's another action-orientated roleplay that doesn't necessarily have to always involve you being in the fight itself, as Marcus just said. The adventure roleplay sort of mentioned it just involves that like it can involve a variety of things. In fact, adventuring is probably a main title for many of the genres we'll probably be listing below.
Yeah.
If it's anything like the World of Warcraft questing experience, it's adventure roleplay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
sometimes you don't even. Sorry.
I mean, even through questing, you can roleplay as well. I've seen some people do that, which is pretty fun if you're leveling a character.
I admire and respect their dedication.
I've tried a few times personally, but it just doesn't meld well with me. But
I salute them.
Yep. I love it when people come up to me and say, "Yes, I killed Cthulhu with my bare hands."
That is one of the topics, though. I don't think I actually listed here. Actually, that's something I missed. Heroes and villains. There are some people that roleplay that high hero archetype that we kind of have in WoW. And I think there used to be a guild on Horde. I don't know if there still is. I know there is one on Alliance, I believe. They roleplay as what the heroes of Azeroth would be doing, is fighting these big bad people, Whereas you got the lowly adventurers or skirmishes happening through military like areas. They're up there just dealing with the big guns,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what my lot do. But yeah, I think one of the things is like, again, I'm going to use this phrase: horses for courses, or different strokes for different folks, whatever. It's like one of the things that. Sorry, tell me to shut up if I'm rambling. What one of the things I love about sort of like is that with WoW you can get away with that. Like you can get away with role playing whatever sort of power level you want if it's against NPCs or whatever. So, like, you know, I know people who do roleplay very basic, very I'm just a medieval peasant, basically, sort of things.
Yeah.
Then there are people like my lot, and I know other guilds who do play the slightly more, you know, Crimson Chin kind of hero guys, you know. And I think it's cool that WoW lets you do that. And you can go up against some really big, you know, world-ending threats if you want to make them. Obviously, you can't have them win because, you know, good luck trying to convince everyone else of that. But
Here's
yeah,
here's a little PSA which I was going to get into as well, since Jake mentioned and what you're talking about. The great thing about WoW is there's a lot of people, and you don't necessarily always have to conform to someone's roleplay because you can always find another
yeah,
group that will sort of
Yeah.
match your
yeah,
There, like you just
your
said, there'll
style.
be people playing the basic Joes, there'll be people playing the
Yeah.
heroes, there'll be people, there'll be people playing all these different genres we're talking about
And-
this evening, and you can just go out there and find whichever group and whichever level gels with you and your character best.
Yep.
And here's some great advice for you, because I know there's a lot of negativity going on as well surrounding people's role plays and stuff. Focus on your own enjoyment. Find the people you can role play with instead of focusing on the others and not role playing at
Yeah.
all.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you won't find any fun out of that. You'll just be stressed out.
It's in
Yep.
no one's ballpark to tell other people how to roleplay.
Yeah.
All you can do is
Mm.
find somewhere that you enjoy roleplaying.
Joy. Yep, absolutely. As I've often said, you know, some people have girlfriends. We're pretending to be girls. We're all losers here. You know, we have no right to judge anyone else's role play. You
Hey,
know
I
what I
do a
mean?
bit of both.
Wait, what? You have a girlfriend in real life?
Hey, yes, no.
Is it possible to learn this power?
I don't. I lied. But yeah. Furthermore, as Marcus mentioned, there's like the bubble role play, which
yeah.
I mean, if he wants to explain it better himself, he can do so.
I from my last few years of RP, that was mostly as a GM of the Myrmidon, that for a while at least was in the public sphere of RP somewhat. You know, we did a few events, we hosted some things, we took part in some things, and then needing to balance what you expect from roleplay, what your guild expects from roleplay, with what other guilds and
Yeah.
individuals also want from you and will want to have with you, it can be a big pain in the bum. Now, people who
That's
find
putting it delicately.
overcome this easily or don't find it particularly detrimental to just deal with the issue head on. Good for them, but I found as a GM trying to jive with others on such a large scale was ultimately very stressful. So I've moved. I don't technically GM anymore. I've gone on to a different kind of RP, and that's just IRP with people I know in our own bubbles, so to say, where we do our own adventures with characters whose backstories and power levels and ultimately headcanons are fine to agree with because it's not affecting anyone beyond our immediate RP. We trust each other, etc., to do the decent, you know, mutually beneficial, so to say,
Yeah.
RP method of not suffocating other people's RP with power or something similar. So I found that it's much less stressful and much more enjoyable. It's liberating to just stick with a group that I like, that I enjoy RPing with, rather than try and conform or come to compromise with people that I disagree with so heavily.
Yeah.
On some occasion, and more often than not, there will be a small but very loud voice in a group that just manages to bring out conflict that ultimately isn't wanted on an OOC level. Just like that, when you participated with your guild, you had other intentions in mind of what you wanted from this group event.
Oh, we ran into a couple of problems with that. But my advice with that as well is if it stirs into OOC drama, it's probably best to just leave it and go.
Yeah.
There's no point in pouring out whatever the problem is.
Go outside, nerd.
Just take a break, really. It's pretty that much.
Yeah. Although one thing, sorry, Chief, can I just not describe? What's your name, Mister Man with the dwarf icon?
Jake.
Jake. Hello, Jake. Sorry, I'm really bad on his. One thing I would say is that why is there a dinosaur in the
I
bottom
don't
corner
know.
of
People
the
are
stream?
kind of trying to poke their heads into the stream.
Oh yeah. But one
Look
thing I
at
would say is,
beautiful
um,
boy.
my God, they do move in herds. But one thing I would say about that is, I think sometimes you have to do a little bit of compromise. Like, I know, for instance, some feedback I get a lot from my guild is that they simply could not talk about the sort of events I send them on IC and be believed by anyone, because I'm like saying, all right, today, gang, we're going up against some inevitably forsaken woman who's built a nuclear bomb and is going to blow Azeroth up with it. And they're like, yeah, but, if you go up to someone in the tavern and say that, they'll just think you're a madman. So I think you do have to sort of like, I think the thing with roleplay being I'm not disagreeing with you, but what I'm saying is I think roleplay being a sort of like collaborative hobby, sometimes when you're roleplaying with people from different guilds, you sort of have to like find a level that you both find acceptable, if that sort of makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Someone who role plays in the tavern and has people coming up to us and giving us all these different kinds of stories. We do, yeah, because you have to accept everyone's different, levels of interaction with things. And, it's a story at the end of the day. Whether it's true or not is not necessarily the point. You can believe it is or isn't true. That doesn't make them saying it any less true for them.
It's you just tell your guild members they can just say it anyway. Because I used to do for fun. By the way, this is pretty funny. I used to have a goblin that wore a tinfoil hat and started like doing saying that someone was controlling him, making him live out his life in weird ways, kind of insinuating there's a person like me controlling them. But if you could do that sort of wacky
Who needs
roleplay,
the
you could
fourth
do
wall?
anything. Yeah, it was pretty fun to do. He'd sell tinfoil hats to people to try and protect them.
Protect them from the mysterious fourth wall who's making them jump randomly on tables. Yeah. Yep. No, I agree with you there. I think at the end of the day, you've got to roleplay what's true to yourself. And if people don't necessarily want to engage with that sort of power level, if you like, they don't have to in a tavern setting. You know what I mean?
They're
That's
free
the
to
beauty
leave.
of it. They're free to leave. Or are they?
No, once you've got them, they're yours.
Yeah, they can run, but they can never escape. But yeah, do you know how far those yells go for, kid? But yeah, no, it's I'm rambling now.
We've only just got done 2 words. All right, horror and thriller. I think we've done a bit of that with the Myrmidon, haven't we?
Yeah, just go to Turretfall Glades, boom, easy.
Well, that just technically involves more spooky stuff, which WoW has with the Eldritch horrors and all that
There's
stuff.
so much potential for spooky crap in WoW.
Mm.
There's ghosts literally everywhere.
Yeah.
If you want a neat idea, I have a gnome concept I haven't roleplayed yet, but they're like a paranormal investigator, Ghostbusters sort of theme, and they go out looking for those horrors. There you go.
I like it.
There's mystery, which can, I guess, revolve around murder mystery, for example. There used to be an event that someone used to host a yearly during Hallows End, where there'd be a murder mystery in Duskwood, and people would have to try and solve it. It was pretty fun.
Oh, I love that.
And
like a real life. What do you call those? You can do that in tabletop as well. And it's sort of like semi like a tabletop role play game. What's it called, like murder mystery games? Where it's kind of like Cluedo, but with actual clues.
I was about to say Cluedo. I guess Cluedo is sort of a tabletop, isn't it? But yeah, mystery can evolve around a lot of those sort of things. Mystery can again meld well with adventure as well as horror and thriller.
Yeah.
We've spoken a bit about militaristic and warfare.
Yeah.
Now
military RP. I have quite
military
a bit of nostalgia
roleplay
for this. I feel like military RP is one of the first kind of areas of RP in WoW that newer role players find themselves drawn to. It's what you see mostly around Stormwind. I'm an Alliance.
It's one of the easier concepts to grasp.
Playing, I found there was a lot of satisfaction to be had when I was a much newer role player in essentially finding a purpose and a belonging and a uniform for my character. I thought it'd be very awesome to literally just stand guard whilst things happen around me and just watch it. Personally, I don't find that as endearing anymore, but as a concept, I find it very inviting for new players. I find it very agreeable and something in a lot of time for a lot of people, it's a jumping off point to explore other areas once they feel more confident branching out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's some people as well that just don't like, I can't make events to save my life. I'm just not the kind of person who can think up those things. But at the same time, I don't gel very well with military RP for different reasons. But for people that don't necessarily maybe have the ability to make their own events and things, military RP could be a good one because it's much more structured and it's much more directed, and they get ushered along, or a bit more in that environment.
And if you're not sure like what you want your character to do, sometimes it's nice to like join a military guild, because then you get given orders and you can sort of like you have like a structure to build your character around, if that kind of makes sense.
It's a good way to pop your cherry as well. If you haven't role played yet.
Sir, this is a Christian stream.
Backtracking already.
Hey, we've already gone past that with the whole bedroom stuff.
Oh yeah, join us for that story after 10.
Military RP is not. It can be really, really useful. Like I said, if you're new, if you're still getting a feel for your character, you're still getting a feel for role play in general, or if you have a feel for those things and you're just not good at directing your own role play and you prefer having that more structured environment. I found I didn't like it so much because, same as Jake, like it was too much limit for me, like standing in lines, being told what to do, being told what to wear, and this, that, and the other. I mean, there's a lot of scope. Obviously, that's not all you're doing in military guilds. That's not all they do all the time, but there was still too much of it for my taste. So it's not for everyone.
I feel like I have to add a bit of an addendum to what I said. I'm not saying that military RP is RP for RP noobs.
No.
That's not what I mean to say.
Oh, no.
It's just it's an easy entry.
I stand by
it's not RP. Yeah.
All RP can be good. House RP, Demon Hunter RP, Death Knight RP, any RP that isn't just flat out gross or wrong, that has a stigma behind it, which is most RP by certain groups, can be good. And it just
no matter where you
takes
are
imagination,
in the community,
and creativity to make it work. And most role players have that. So whenever someone's dissing your kind of role play, whether it's House, Warg and Pack RP, or whatever role plays being dissed on the forums and that day of the week, you're cool. Don't mind it.
I'm going to remember that next time there's some internet blood sports on the forums. I'm going to say, well, this guy called Jake told me I could.
Well, that's just it. Jake says you enjoy your RP.
Yeah, you enjoy your role playing. At the end of the day, if it's what you and a bunch of mates enjoy, you know what I mean. Who are we to stop you?
Yeah.
It's just it doesn't make it bad or newbie or whatever, but I mean it's just a great place to start, is what we're saying. If you don't know where to start,
accessible.
Military roleplay is always probably the most accessible thing. Unless you're obviously wanting to roleplay something like a baker or something like that, which is everyday roleplay. I mean, that's as easy as it gets to get into, really. Obviously, you have to be more sociable with that, and I know that'll be a topic for another day, but...
No, become a military baker, like just running across the battlefield with like several loaves of bread.
Quick, eat this.
Quick, eat this. Bang.
When it comes to specifically WoW, with the next one, WoW, let's face it, people might want to roleplay their simplistic medieval character, but WoW is high fantasy.
Yeah. Well, this is one of the. And this is sort of similar to what I've said before, but one of the things I love about WoW is that it lets you do, because the next one's just fantasy, which I'm guessing you mean low fantasy. Yeah. It's like, because like compare WoW to something like Lord of the Rings, because like Lord of the Rings for most people in Middle Earth or even in Game of Thrones, evil peasant. Do you know what I mean? Whereas like in WoW, you have that scale. So you like one event, you might be doing something really simple. Like I think there's a quest in Elwyn Forest, which is like, oh, steal this brooch and give it to my secret lover or something, and then get these boars off my farm, which is really quite low fantasy. Then like 3 hours of gameplay later, and you drop in sea mines next to like a demon star destroyer in space. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So WoW definitely lets you play whichever one you want, really. I mean, I know what I'm really off at the high fantasy end. I love that, but I know plenty of people who like to keep things quite low and quite medieval. So it definitely gives you the scale, the option.
you can stick to either, and it's
Yeah.
best to keep in mind though. Be considerate of other role players always. Some
Yeah.
people might not want to meld with that high fantasy. That's fair enough. But for those that are being the lower fantasy, you also have to kind of understand that WoW is a high fantasy setting.
It's not.
Because I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not medieval.
Yeah.
So you,
If you're role playing an average Joe Baker, that's 110% fine. But you have to understand that there are going to be arcanists and mages and sorcerers
Yeah.
and walking corpses and all kinds of crazy shit out there. That's
No.
just the world that you live in.
One of the advantages of sticking to your, if you want your low fantasy footman RP where you're going into a battle and things are grim, it's not looking good, there are no mages to pull you out, it's just you, your boots, and your boys. Absolutely
Well,
fine.
sounds
Yeah.
so
But I
good.
see quite a lot of these in either recruitment or like the request on the campaign page to keep
Mm.
things low fantasy, and that is counter to the game's world and
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yeah. I must say there is a risk that you kind of do end up bubbling yourself if you do that, because, like, listen, Blizzard gave me the option to ride a spider tank with Gatling guns, and I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like, nobody's going to stop me. So I do
Yeah.
think, you do have to remember that you are going to come across this really high fantasy steampunk stuff. But I think use it since it's there, because I think it really broadens what you can get away with in WoW versus what you can get away with in other roleplay universes, like Lord of the Rings or stuff.
there's also the fact there's guilds centered around this as well, and there's been many in the past. There's probably many right now, and there'll probably be many more in the future, where people take more realism into roleplay rather than the whole high fantasy stuff. It's great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we had someone in our guild a while when Myrmidon was still around that they were in another guild that sort of had these long sort of sessions where they RP, actually loading the gun up with all the complications behind it, all that sort of stuff. And
Ooh.
I mean, it's what they prefer, and that's fine. But there are people that you can find for this, and it's as simple as that,
Uh-huh.
really.
Brings me on to, I'd just like to go on a very small tangent in regards to any character that is professional in their field, a doctor, a gunsmith, a blacksmith, just someone who's handling a cannon. Some people expect you, if you're going to play that character, to
Mhm.
know the ins and out to a master's degree level of how that thing's meant to be done. Like someone who's been on Wikipedia about how doctors do a procedure, and you're there
Yeah.
emoting it wrong, or you got something mixed up a bit. Don't worry about it. Like, I get research does help with your character, but you're role playing. You don't have to be professional in real life.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
You're
you
not
can
actually trying to take someone's appendix out.
you can
Yeah.
just be a blacksmith and say you're just hammering the thing if you want.
Yep. I
When
was
you
gonna say.
you don't need to know everything. As long as you
Yep.
know the basics, that's fine.
If you do a little bit of research to make it even more believable, more power to you,
Yeah.
but you don't
Yeah.
have to do it.
You don't have to. Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, World of Warcraft is a world where dragons burst out of the ground and travel through time and space. So
Yeah, the
you can
game
probably get
itself
away
doesn't
with.
make a whole bunch of sense.
Hell
Yeah,
no.
exactly. You can
Oh.
definitely get away with some stuff like that.
Sorry, you want to say something, Jake?
Oh no, I was just going to say you can definitely get away with some stuff like not being entirely accurate when you're loading a musket. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
God. Um, I guess we kind of mixed those two up already. Romance. I mean, that just kind of comes in roleplay. Obviously, some people like that sort of connection with others, and it does make for some fun roleplay now and again.
On the character, I think it's bound to be one of those things that's more relevant to some characters than it is to other characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But for the characters it's relevant to, it could be like quite a huge developmental process for them.
Yeah.
Romance and just that kind of lovely RP with the characters that it's relevant to. Obviously, not talking about the RP here, but I find building those kind of relationships with other characters, if you're empathetic, if you're having like a empathetic connection to your own, I feel like it can have some of the biggest emotional impact of any scenes.
Yeah.
Especially if you're able to love another person's character through your own, as well as your own OOC appreciation of them. If
Then when
something
they get cannon blasted in the next realm event, it's gonna make you cry.
I have shed tears before as a result, and even though they're sad tears at the time, it's definitely some of the most memorable scenes out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think romance roleplay as well lets you it's sort of a different skill set, a different range of emotion you can feel as opposed to like action adventure roleplay or something. You know what I mean? For once in your life, it lets you feel something. Just feel something in this cold, dead world.
Dark.
Yeah.
It kind of moves on to our next one, which is drama and suspense, and you can have that same drama with that romance as
Oh yeah, yeah.
you know, or that whole drama with Derek again, coming in calling your mother an ogre or something. Who knows?
Would we get arrested if we put a live hit out on Derek on your stream?
Go ahead.
Yeah. All right, guys. If you
Okay,
see
that's-
this Derek,
should do that. I'm
Yeah.
just saying if it happened.
yeah.
You may find yourselves a nice pocket of gold. You know.
All I'm saying is I'm sitting on top of $10,000, and anyone who delivers me Derek's head might just get them.
But yeah, drama is one of those ones that can fit, I think, into every single
Yep.
genre of roleplay.
Mm.
But it's one of those ones that you also kind of have to deal with a bit delicately, because too much of it too often can go wrong.
You have
Yeah.
to kind of know the person as well sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the type of drama that you're doing, make sure everybody's on board.
Yeah.
That's especially where you have to be considerate of other people, because it can sometimes meld into out of character. And I can guarantee a lot of us here don't want to bother with that sort of thing when you're role playing.
No, it's not fun.
No.
No. Yeah. I think the other thing about drama role plays, yeah, you've got to have some sort of mutual agreement on it. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't just walk up to the first person you see and start beef, because
Yeah.
you never know how they're going to take it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah.
There's a common reaction. There are quite a few characters and role players who are OOC motivated just to go around and bait a frustrated reaction out of people by bothering them. I see, by putting them in a scene that they didn't otherwise want to be in, and then when they complain, possibly out of character, they say, "Oh, just keep IC, bro."
Here's my
But
advice for that: just go away.
Yeah.
don't just sharing the same space. That doesn't mean that someone wants to role play with you in a scene which is combative. And I think that especially when wanting to engage in someone with a dramatic or combative or kind of conflict RP, that it's probably a good idea to contact the OOC first, because they might
to tell them every single detail of what you're planning and ruin the surprise, because that's an argument. We're a criminal guild, so we do a lot of that kind of stuff, and people argue against our rule is that you have to let someone know before you do something, and people say, oh, but it ruins the suspense, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. I'm not going to give you a blow by blow, but I'm going to get a heads up to know that you're down for that kind of role play before I do anything.
Or you're left in a scene that eventually neither of you want to be in, and it's just a big mess.
Exactly. Nobody wants that.
Yep.
But the thing with drama as well is drama will always play best with characters that know each other and give a crap about each other. So it's always best kept with people that you do know and that you have built a relationship with, so that when the shit goes down, they care. It's important to them. It matters. The drama will only have as much gravity as you've built it up to have.
I think that's pretty much it. Otherwise, unless anyone else wants to throw their ball into the ring. 1 minute to spare.
Is there any questions, guys, from chat?
Any questions while I do?
While we do the plugs.
Would you like me to play the smooth jazz as you talk us out?
No, I'll probably get silenced. Firstly, actually, I think I threw this because I saw a lot of people today in Storming with and just a lot of people in general often have the not a native speaker, right? And
yeah.
I don't think anyone here is looking for perfection when you're writing your roleplay. So long as it's understandable and you're both having fun, that's it. No, you don't need to apologize for it.
You see, that's why I play a girl from Westfall, because I can't spell. So, it's just an excuse
There you go.
to type
In
gibberish.
character.
Yeah,
If anyone does
Yeah.
have a problem with it, it's probably a person you don't want to roleplay with in the first place.
exactly. And to be honest with you, Chief, I think that what you've just said goes for all the genres we've talked about. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? If someone has a problem with the genre you're role playing, unless your genre is like 50 Shades of Grey, then yeah, they're probably not someone you'd want to role play with.
Yeah. I guess we'll save the shilling for a bit. What's your opinion on those RP controversial character stuff, like animal RPs, child role players, and that kind of stuff?
I think we should do that as a full topic.
I
Do like
think that should be a
controversial
whole
concepts as a
topic.
full show.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that should be its own topic in itself.
I don't think we can answer that in the next 3 minutes, CJ.
No,
If we talk really fast,
it's definitely something that has a lot of problems with it, and
There's
can
ins and
work
outs
as
and
well.
ups and downs.
Yeah.
and-
yeah. If some people make it work, some people don't.
It's the same as I can't remember who said it, but at the very start of this show, one of the two lovely guests this evening said that, as with everything, it can be done well or it can be done badly, and that literally applies to everything.
I just want to say though.
I said that before, but then I added a little condition of unless it's just nope RP.
Oh yeah, if you're breaking the TOS and you're being a horrible human, that's different.
Yeah.
Child
Okay.
RP. Nope RP.
Rhaenyra, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot to make the straw poll. I knew I forgot something. I guess I'm going to pick the next highest voted one from last week. But Demon Hunter roleplay and that sort of stuff is on the straw poll. So you'll be able to vote for that next week if you want it. Sorry, guys, that was my bad. Oh, God.
Great.
Like me to lynch him, guys. Shall we replace Fuse in his own talk show?
Yeah. Next
is
week
all I
without
have.
Fuse.
All right, guys. We have a Discord. I think everyone in this chat is in it. I mean, it's not as active at the moment, but if you kind of hop on and talk, I'm sure people will talk. You can sort of suggest topics there. You can
ask us questions there.
Yep.
It's always better to ask us questions
If
beforehand.
late
as
at
well.
night when you're trying to get to sleep, and I know me and Fuse are all you can think about, and you wish you'd asked that one thing that you now can't get out of your head, take it to Discord and we'll sort you out.
Yeah.
Before anyone sends me the question, though, I just want to say I didn't do it. I'm an innocent man. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Okay, there's Discord. Great news as well. We now have a proper tag for YouTube. There you go.
Fancy URL.
I know, right? Look at it. 100 subs plus. But if you haven't subscribed yet, go to it. Subscribe. If you ever miss a RP Talks, you can always go there and look at what's happening. It's a good thing I have a list here in front of me. Yeah, if you haven't followed me here as well, follow. Also, it's September actually, so I mean, if you want to subscribe, I think it's cheaper, right? You should do the same.
What way does it work? I've forgotten.
You should do the same to Meraki when they stream.
Yep.
Hopefully, maybe tomorrow. Maybe. Don't hold your breath.
There's Patreon if you want to support me there. I think tier 2 gets you a crappy doodle by me.
I have an OnlyFans you could subscribe to.
No, I'm not doing
Bedroom
OnlyFans.
RP is back.
You can also support me through coffee. But I'm very bad at copying, apparently. Here's coffee. We do have an Ask FM, but it seems that I can't silence the random questions that kind of pop in, and it's kind of annoying. So I'd prefer if you join the Discord and ask the questions there
Drop them in the
personally.
Discord. We're
I'm
far
probably
less
gonna
likely to
remove
forget if it's in the Discord.
Or you can just harass me on any other Discord. I mean, because I run like AD creators for those from Argent Dawn. I might be in there with you. You can poke me there.
Or just follow him around in game and type your questions in Yell.
On a giant
You
dragon.
can send me a mail in game. Ursi is my alliance character to poke. Fuse is my horde character. Two perfectly easy names to remember. Eve and Joe here can remember them.
Why? Even a monkey can memorize 3 letters. Are you stupider than a monkey?
Otherwise, I think
Yeah.
I've showed everything I've had to show. Meraki, do you have the RP question of the week? Or should we pull
Do you want
one?
to know what it is?
Go for it.
The RP question of this week, guys, and I'm going to drop it into the Discord as well for you to answer it there, is what is your character's most distinguishable feature, and what do people normally notice first about them? Oh, I love that snicker. That better come with an answer.
That'll be thrown up on the Discord if you want to answer it.
Listen, I still need to answer last week, so don't judge me. I'm going to do 2 this week.
Yeah. Believe that's it otherwise. Unless any of you want to add something else before we say goodbye. Where do we post it? There's a chat underneath.
It's called RP Talks Quote of the Week.
Yeah, it's just question of the week. Yeah, right there. It's just shortened because otherwise it'd go off the screen.
I've typed my answer to this week's question already.
No, you can't be undead and be that.
I'll have you know, after a whole hour of saying you can roleplay whatever you like, I absolutely can be dumb thing.
Alright, you're banned from the stream. Never come back ever again.
No.
Alright, yeah, thanks guys. Next week, Shelby, let me check actually, because I do have the straw poll from last week. And I think it's probably a very drama one. Oh god, yes it is. Okay, it's the OOC problem, Meraki. Are you ready for that for next week?
Cool. I wrote a blog post on this. I got it. I could do this.
Okay, right. Cheers,
Better
guys.
than Demon RP. That's way out of my ballpark, so that's going to be fun.
I think we have a guest for that as well at some point.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, cheers guys. Thanks for joining us.